Hi guys, my name's Andy and welcome to part 3 of this rolling ball sculpture video. To make the sculpture I'm using 2.5mm diameter brass wire, and I've cut some short lengths here, and you'll see it's quite springy, and it can be tricky to straighten out without a straightening machine. But there's a little trick that you can do using an electric drill. I'm sure you've all seen it before, but for anybody that hasn't, that should be pretty straight. I'm not a big fan of this as a way of straightening it, because it can put a bit of a ripple in the wire, but short of making a 3-roller straightening device, I think it's adequate. I may make a device that pulls the wire, because if you pull it straight it will largely remain straight, but it takes quite a lot of mechanical force to do that. I'll do another one. I've cut the very ends off these 4 wires that I've just straightened with the drill, and you can see hopefully as I twist them round with my thumb and finger, they all sit together perfectly neatly. I hope that's in focus. Which is an indication of just how straight they are. So if you start with straight wires, that's a big help, even if you're going to create a curve. I'm saying this like an expert. I've never built a rolling ball sculpture, but a lifetime of engineering tells me I know if you start with a straight product, then you're in control. If it's already bent for some reason, then that bend in some way is going to influence your final design or your final product. I'm going to braze these 2 wires together to form a track, and what I've done, I've got a clothes peg and I've drilled 2 holes such that I can, again trying to work with it, that'll hold them at a set distance apart, and I'm going to silver solder these, or braze these together. I've bent some little bits of wire and made a long coil, like a spring of wire, and then cut down the center of it, and I'm using these as track separators. I've got my little separator in place there across the track, and as I say, I'm going to hard solder this, and I'm using hard solder as typically you can braze copper and brass using, or solder it using 6040 lead tin solder. This is hard solder. It's a brazing alloy called Easy Flow 2. And say I can't remember its exact melting temperature, but it's 600 or 700 degrees, so a high temperature. But the reason I'm using this is if I want to bend these tracks and change their position, and I've made it using soft solder, ordinary lead tin, zinc or lead tin solder, there's every chance you'll break the joint, and the last thing I want to do is build some fabulous structure, come to move it or drop something on it and it breaks. You will not break a brazed joint very easily at all. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something called pick soldering. And most engineers, if they were brazing this, they would have the gas torch, have the little gas torch in there, and they'd introduce the wire to the joint. And that's great, that works, it's quick, clean and easy. But if you want something that's going to look like an instrument when you've finished it, that's, you know, almost like a piece of jewellery, then you're going to have different quantities of solder in each place. If you get too much, it's very difficult to remove. So what you do in pick soldering is you cut small pieces of solder. Put that down there. I've dropped it, in fact it's so small. And cut some bits off there. And these are barely a millimetre long, these little pieces I'm cutting off there. And I say this is a jewellery technique, because jewellers don't want to spend all day cleaning up their work. And you see these tiny little bits of solder there, or braze alloy I'll call it. I'm going to put that on there, and that's all I'm going to use for each joint. So we've got the this is a technique that I only learnt this when I was 70. Yeah. So I'd 70 years, most of my life engineering, and I had never seen pick soldering. And I was looking at YouTube and I saw Greg Greenwood jewellery videos, because I was interested in making jewellery, and Greg was showing us how to make jewellery using the pick soldering technique, and it's transformative. I wish that I'd known about it in my engineering days. The other thing I was going to tell you is this wire is very, very hard, and I'm cutting it with these cutters. Look at this. It says PO, which is post office, 1974. So we're now 2025, so what's that, 51 years, getting on for 52 years old, and they are fabulous. You could typically these were called piano wires cutters, because you can cut springs, you can cut piano wire with them. Incredibly hard jaws, but yeah, after 51 years of use, and man, I've abused them. But anyway, that's I digress. Okay, so we'll start pick soldering. I'm using propane and a little torch, and I've got an oxygen concentrator. You could use an oxygen bottle. I've switched the oxygen concentrator off because it's a pump that makes noise. Oh, and what I'm forgetting to tell you is, first I'll put my reading glasses on, and I just put a bit of flux. This is Easy Flow flux, a Johnson Matthey product. Then what I'm going to do, I hope the camera gets this, I'm going to melt one of those into a little ball. Can you see that? That's a tiny little ball of hard solder on the end of the pick there. Then I'm going to heat the part. No rush to do this, I want to make a nice job. Heat the part. It's getting close. Then I'm going to put the bead on there. I've got the top a bit hotter than the bottom. Now there you see the solder is run. Most people, when they melt a solder like this, they see it flow and they take the flame off and they they jump off it. That's not always the best thing to do. You don't want to melt the part, but I know from my engineering work making components, if you don't allow the work to, am I still in shot? My little table goes round, by the way. If you don't allow the work to heat well all across, you can wind up with a joint that's not as good as you think it is. So I like to just see that solder flow around it well. What I'll do, probably won't do today, but on one of these joints I'll try and break it to show you how strong it is. Okay, that now really wants pickling in acid, only a mild acid, or cleaning up. But it will clean up beautiful. There won't be too much solder on there, and it'll be a good looking joint. I hope you found that interesting and hopefully informative. Okay guys, all the very best. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.